Hey guys, I'm Aaron from PhoneDog.com, and move over BlackBerry. There's a new competitor in your field that wants a slice of your pie. The Motorola Droid Pro is available now from Verizon Wireless for $199.99 after a $100 mail-in rebate. You know, and it looks and feels and even acts like a BlackBerry, and there's a reason behind that. Motorola wants it to. They said at the CTI event in San Francisco a couple of weeks ago, they want it to appeal to BlackBerry users that are a little bit tired of the platform, kind of sick of the way the phones look, sick of BlackBerry 6. They want an Android experience, but they still need that physical QWERTY keyboard, that enterprise support, and more. That's what the Motorola Droid Pro is for. Does it live up to the hype? Is it a BlackBerry killer? We'll find out in the full review. But first, special thanks to our friends at Best Buy Mobile for hooking us up with 2 of these for use in our One Pop Bandit giveaway. You know, Best Buy gives us phones for our One Pop Bandit giveaway. They hook you up. They help us hook you up. And they're a great company to work with. So one thing I love about Best Buy Mobile, you walk in, you walk out working. So you go to get the Motorola Droid Pro on Black Friday or whenever you get it. You want your email set up, you want your web set up. Best Buy Mobile will take care of you. So when you walk out that door, the web will work, the email will work, everything you need or everything you use will work on the phone. That's part of walkout working, and it's available at Best Buy Mobile. Enough of that, let's get into the review. Motorola Droid Pro, BlackBerry killer? We'll find out. Okay, here it is, the Motorola Droid Pro on Verizon Wireless. It's available now, as I said, for $199.99 after a $100 mail-in rebate. You know, it's appealing directly to BlackBerry users with that portrait QWERTY keyboard, the portrait orientation, and just the way it feels in the hand is a direct appeal to BlackBerry diehards that are either a little bit sick of the operating system or a little bit sick of the design of their current BlackBerry. As I said, 4-row QWERTY keyboard, capacitive buttons below the 3.1-inch display. Let's take a quick look at the sides. Volume rocker on the left side, micro USB charging port on the left, shortcut button on the right, which goes to the calendar, 3.5mm headphone jack on the top, power button up there as well. Now it's running Android 2.2, but it's not running it is running a customized version of Blur, but they're calling it Motorola's Applications platform. But it's the same thing that runs on the Droid 2, the Droid X. So if you've used one of those devices, you're familiar with it already. Apps installed include 3G mobile hotspot, Verizon's backup assistant, typical Android apps, along with the typical Motorola application platform apps like emergency files, which, as I've said in previous videos, it's a really nice touch because instead of downloading something like Astro from the Android market, I can don't have to worry about it. I can use the Files app on the Droid Pro or any of the devices that are running some version of Moto Blur, manage SIM card, things like that. Now I didn't touch on it earlier, but this is a global device, so it has a SIM card slot in the back. You can travel overseas and use it, but the SIM card slot, at least right now, is locked. So it's a Vodafone / Verizon SIM card for when you're traveling overseas. Other applications, My Verizon Mobile, Google's News and Weather widget, Need for Speed Shift, Quick Office, Social Networking, Skype Mobile, Task Manager, which I've touched on in the Bravo and Flipside unboxings. The fact that the Task Manager program is pre-installed is a nice touch there. So I don't have to download again. You know, I don't have to go and download unnecessary programs from the Android market like Advanced Task Killer or anything like that. I can use the one that's built in, so that's a nice touch. Visual voicemail, YouTube, VZ Navigator, then a VPN client for people that utilize that for their job. So nice touch in terms of the apps, but Android 2.2, very similar, as I said, to what you would see on the Droid 2 or the Droid X with these typical Blur widgets. Now, it's a love-hate thing. I prefer the Blur widgets. I think they're great. They're a little boxy, but I love the ability to customize, for example, press and hold, customize the size of my widgets so when I'm not, I don't just plop the widget down on the home screen and I can move it around but I can't change the size. No, with these, not only can I move it to a different spot on the screen, but I can also change the size, which is a very nice touch. So you can customize the device, make it more you, if you will, and go from there with different size widgets. So that's a very cool touch. You can do that with most of the widgets, most of the Moto Blur widgets, like the weather widget, for example. It'll tell you, like it just did with me, if you can't customize it a certain way, like I can't go that big, can't go that way, so it looks like I'm stuck. I make it a little bit smaller, like that, for example. But it's nice to have that customization option. Nice to versus typical widget where it's just on the screen, can't change it. The only thing you can do is move it. So let's take a look at some of those widgets just to get a more in-depth look. You have your option when you click and hold on the home screen. You can do Motorola widgets or Android widgets. So it's very similar to other manufacturer installed overlays where you have their version like Motorola's widgets and then the standard Android widgets as well. But let's go into Motorola and take a look. You have the typical airplane mode toggles, the Bluetooth toggle, the 4 that you've seen on past blur enabled devices, GPS toggle, and then Wi-Fi toggle as well. So you can add those, but you have your calendar, contact, quick tasks, which this is one of my personal favorites. Click on it. Let's find a let's say directory assistance is my best friend. We'll call and text message. Let's say I call and text message directory assistance. We're buddies. We go to lunch on a regular basis. So the widget's here, and you can see on the bottom. So I can drag it up here, and I can customize the way it looks. But I have the shortcuts to work calling work or text messaging work, and I can customize the size, customize the way it looks, and go from there. So that's one of my favorite widgets on Blur. And let's have a look at some of the others. You have your typical date and time widgets, which this is another favorite. Change the clock background color, change the clock to digital. You can see you have your date and your time. So that's another favorite. And we can keep going. But you get the idea. Nice and customizable and very functional widgets. Messages, social networking, which serves as kind of an aggregator where you can see your Facebook and Twitter, MySpace updates. Social status, sticky note, weather. Weather's a good one. We'll just do that. And you can see that'll pop up. So nice widgets in addition to the stock Android widgets, which are all pre-installed on here as well. And one I wanted to highlight in particular, it's not a stock Android widget, but it's a Verizon widget, the data usage widget. Now there are two plans available now on Verizon when it comes to data on smartphones. There's a $15 plan for 150 megabytes, and then there's the typical 30 for unlimited. If you're on that 150 megabytes, obviously you want to monitor your usage. See how much you use so you don't go over the 150 megabytes. We have a data usage widget now where you can do that. So that's particularly useful. Maybe less for people that have the Droid Pro and more like people that are buying the Citrus, which is the low-end kind of cousin that came out at the same time as the Droid Pro. For those people that have that 150 megabyte data plan, it's crucial that it's crucial that they have that data usage widget installed on there. Now, before we go any further, I know I'm jumping around, but I want to take you into the keyboard here and show you what it's like. Like I said, it's a 4-row QWERTY keyboard. The keys are very roomy, and you'll notice they're raised, just like the BlackBerry keys. If you're used to the 9780 or any of those devices, you can see very similar keys. And actually, the Droid Pros are a little bit bigger. Now, they're a little bit stickier to me. They don't have as much. The travel isn't as great on these, but they're still very good, don't get me wrong. Hey there, how are you doing today? Thanks for the information. So very quick, very easy to use, and again, typical Blur interface here with messaging. But very easy to use, very quick. I had no problems. Now the one thing, this is appealing to current BlackBerry users, people that are looking to switch. You'll notice that on the BlackBerry keyboard, I know I keep comparing, but the caps lock, or the shift keys rather, are on the bottom here. There's two. The alt key is switched around on this one, so I found myself, the first couple of days I was using this, found myself clicking down here trying to capitalize certain letters, when in reality it's up here. To me, it would have been smarter to do two shift keys. Sorry about that. Two shift keys and then the alt key here, but they didn't. And another one for me, the dialing, the numbers are across the top horizontally versus being laid out in kind of number pattern like they are on the BlackBerry keyboard. So minor differences, but people that are diehard BlackBerry users, they're going to notice that right out of the box, and that may sway their decision. So great keyboard. You can also use the on-screen QWERTY, as well. But we'll have to go into settings and enable that on the display. Let's enable it so it'll auto-rotate. And go back to our message. You can see once I rotate, it'll bring up my on-screen QWERTY as well. Now it is the multi-touch keyboard, which is a decent keyboard, don't get me wrong, but on a 3.1-inch display, it's a little cramped even in landscape mode. But thanks to the auto-correction of Android, it got most of it right. Hey there, how are Tony doing? So, Tony doing fine. That's all I have to say. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. But landscape keyboard, pretty decent. Although, if you have a device like this, I don't really see why you would be using it in landscape mode, or most likely, you'd rarely use it in that mode. So, for people that type and use the keyboard regularly, it's a fantastic keyboard. Been very pleased. The Droid Pro is powered by a 1 GHz Texas Instruments OMAP processor, like the Droid 2, not the Droid 2 Global, but the original Droid 2, and the Droid X. So, pretty powerful processor. It's nothing to scoff at. But you know, and in terms of everyday tasks and using it, I've been pretty pleased. It's been relatively speedy. Slows down every now and again, but nothing worse than any of the Snapdragon processor-based devices or the Hummingbird processors in any of the Galaxy S devices. So, been very pleased with the responsiveness for the most part. But let's have a look at the browser, since, you know, the first question a lot of people have on a 3.1-inch display, coming from something like a 4-inch or 4.3-inch display, or even a 3.7-inch display, how's the browsing? I have a perfect way to answer that. Let's do some tests. Go to phonedog.com, and you can see, going from portrait to landscape, reasonably quick in terms of the transition effects. And since this is running Android 2.2, you do get flash capabilities out of the box on this device. So overall, I've been, you know, pretty pleased with the browsing. It's not coming from a 4-inch device or a 4.3-inch device. I definitely noticed the difference in the screen size in tasks, especially when it comes to browsing. That said, you know, this device isn't targeting somebody who's a media buff. It's targeting somebody who emails a lot and text messages a lot and makes quite a few phone calls. You know, so this isn't the priority of the Droid Pro. It's still loading here, but you can see the banner coming up top. So you can see just in the camera even that the picture quality, or the size is very small on that 3.1-inch display. So let's wait for that. So the page is loaded. Let's have a look at the pinch to zoom functionality there. It's pretty responsive, pretty quick. I'm pleased with it on that front. Oops, I didn't mean to click on that. As you can see, I mean, pinch to zoom, very responsive. Page looks good, and when it's zoomed down, obviously you can't see anything on the display, or, you know, everything's pretty blurry. But we can double tap and go to particular parts of the page. Doesn't seem to want that. There we go. Okay, so you can go to the, you know, for example, the exclusive content here and see the content. It's pretty reasonable, you know, in terms of text. It's easy to see when it's zoomed in like that. But the pinch to zoom functionality has been very good, and overall responsiveness. You know, you can see I'm scrolling around a pretty media centric page, and it's not lagging whatsoever. You know, I've been pretty pleased, even with those flash advertisements that you're seeing going on in the background with the surround and with the Sprint devices. So impressed on that front. Very easy when it comes to web browsing. Typical Android web browsing experience. You have the in your menu, you have new window, bookmarks, windows to show you what's open, refresh, and more. So I go to a window, I can add a new one, and you know, say I want to check the news. Go to CNN. It'll bring up the mobile version of the page. But then if I want to go back to PhoneDog while I'm waiting for that to load, I can click there, click Windows, pop back into PhoneDog, and start up where I left off.